So I'll cut straight to the chase. In this video, I want to show you how to permanently strengthen weak grip strength. And how I'd like to do this is we're obviously going to go through a series of very simple basic grip strength exercises that you can do at home. But what's different about this video is I also want to leverage my experience as a physiotherapist to help you better understand why your grip strength may feel weak in the first place. So let's get into it. So it stands to reason that it's important that we have adequate grip strength to best interact with what we want to do with our lives. The stronger your grip strength is, the less likely you are to drop something, the more options you have available to you to carry and lift and interact with the world. And in my experience as a physiotherapist, as someone who is actively trying to understand the root cause of the things that my patients come in with, when we're talking about weakness, where we can clearly see that someone isn't as strong as they should be, particularly with their grip, instead of just focusing purely on strength exercises to build that strength back up, which are still important and a crucial part of any conversation about weakness, if we aren't taking that step back to try and understand why one specific part of your body has weakened, especially if the other side has not, then we may never truly get to the stage where we've solved this dysfunction. And if you have seen some of the videos I've put out recently about other commonly weak muscles and their potential root underlying hidden cause, one of the main reasons why somebody's grip strength may have become reduced, knowingly or unknowingly, is neck dysfunction. We know that the nerves that supply the function of all the muscles in your forearm, wrist, hand, and fingers originates from the base of your neck and the top of your upper back. And if you have unknowingly created some dysfunction through that part of your body at the levels that either directly or indirectly influence the function of those areas, then you may see a drop-off in that function. So the first exercise that I want to take you through is the standard exercise of using a ball, tennis ball, lacrosse ball, cricket ball, baseball, whatever you feel is comfortable and appropriate for you, and using that device to go looking through the individual joints of your neck and upper back for clues as to what might be weakening your grip strength. And as I always try and promote, I don't want you to have to trust me. The best way that I've found to base what we do on results is to grab something like a towel in this instance and just squeeze that towel as hard as you feel comfortable. If you have one of the grip strength testers, absolutely do that. Get an objective measure of how much force you're producing in this moment. If you don't have one of those, a towel will do. Grab it, squeeze it as hard as you feel comfortable, compare right to left, and take a mental note of how shaky you feel, and get a sense of how much force you feel you can produce in this moment. Put that aside, because what we'll do is as we go through this ball exercise, we want to do it, then immediately come back to this to see if anything has instantly changed. So how this looks, we can take the ball and we're going to do this lying down on the floor. You're welcome to do it standing or leaning against a wall. If you find it hard to maneuver, you can pop this ball into a sock or a stocking, throw it over the back there just to make it a little bit easier. But what I want you to do is take that ball. As always, we're going to start at the bump, the big bump at the base of your neck, the one that stands out the most. This is the junction between your neck and your upper back. Place the ball on that spot directly, then immediately let it roll off to the side. So you're on the fleshy bit. We're not going all the way out. We're literally still up against the bump. We're just not directly on top of it. We're just off to the side. And like we always do, lie down on the ball just so it's pressing into that neck. Again, you're not directly onto the spine, you're just off to one side. Instantly take note of how stiff, tight, restricted this feels. Tenderness is important, but it's not the symptom that we're looking for. We're looking for a sense of restriction, a sense of thickness. Take note of how it feels in that exact spot. Compare it to the same spot on the other side. One side should feel a little bit stiffer, tighter, more dense than the other. And for me, it always tends to be this left-hand side. And as an exercise, what I want you to do is just literally leave the ball here. Let it press in, try and relax. Give the ball time to push through some of the soft tissue over the top, but sink into the joints underneath to start to mobilize them to some degree. Once you spend enough time here, 30 seconds, 60 seconds, whatever works for you, you can then move the ball up a little bit or move the ball down a little bit towards your shoulder blade area. And keep spending time on the spot you feel are the most interesting and important to you. Do this for a few minutes. Once you sit up, if you've done anything, you should feel like your neck feels a little bit lighter or a little bit looser. Because then as you come back to your towel again, grab that towel, give it a squeeze, compare both sides. You should immediately see that something feels easier. Perhaps it feels stronger, perhaps you're not shaking as much. We're looking for that sense that something has changed just by mobilizing the structures at the levels that connect to and supply the function of that hand, wrist, and fingers. And what we're going to circle back to at the end of the video is that if you have found that your grip strength has immediately improved just by freeing up individual sections of your neck and upper back, because everything has to happen for a a reason, there also has to be a reason why that part of your neck and upper back has become stiff and restricted. But before we get there, let's go through some very simple grip strength exercises to help build that part of the equation as well. So in the spirit of keeping things simple and convenient, there's two really simple grip strength exercises that you can work on at home using a towel. Now, if you have the more official grip strength devices, by all means use that. The principles are exactly the same. But if you don't have one of those or aren't keen to pick them up, a towel will do just fine. And the reason why I like using a towel is it's very much scalable. But to start with, if you place a small amount of the towel into your fist, and all we need you to do is just consistently squeeze that towel. We want high numbers of reps. We're talking 30, 40, 50, hundreds of them. We want to make sure that you feel the muscles in your forearm as well as your hand musculature develops a strong sense of fatigue. So we need to establish a good sense of fatigue in order to tell your body that it needs to get better. And intuitively, based on how easy this feels for you, you can start adding more and more towel into the equation to make this harder for you. So choose an amount that you feel is appropriate. A fistful is generally pretty good. And just sit here while you're watching TV, while you're doing something else, just squeezing and squeezing and squeezing until you get a serious amount of fatigue through those forearm and hand muscles. Having your palm down will give you a slightly different stimulus than you will if you have your palm up. And as good as just blatant grip strength exercises are, we also want to pair this up with another one that works on the rotational strength of your forearm as well. What we can do here is if you take your towel and you essentially imagine that you're wringing it out, take all the slack out of the towel as much as possible, lock one hand in, then with your other arm, consistently imagine that you're trying to wring out that towel. Again, the same way that you've done your grip strength. We want sets of 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, whatever it takes for you to generate that good sense of fatigue. And you'll notice that the towel has a really nice inbuilt level of resistance when you get right to the end of sort of wringing that out. Because once you've done that, you've worked on these supination style movements. You can go all the way back the other way, again, keeping your other hand stable, and then twisting you palm down, working on pronation. Same deal, just consistently get to the end of that range, twist it, twist it, twist it until you feel like you've generated enough fatigue, and then change sides. And just to round this out a little bit more, if you're a member of the channel, I just want to go through two more exercises that help round out the broader strength of your forearm and wrist. If you aren't a member, please consider signing up to get the extended cut of this video. But from here, if you have found that freeing up your neck gave you some increased grip strength straight away, and you're considering that that might be the cause of why you feel you've lost some of your grip strength, we now need to talk about why that exact part of your neck became dysfunctional in the first place. So once you've found and mobilized some of those potentially hidden restrictions in your spine that could be shutting down the function of your grip, and you've paired that up with some very symptomatic strength exercises to build that part of the equation back up again, the last piece of the puzzle that I want to come back to that I mentioned earlier is that because everything has to happen for a reason, if you found that there is a legitimate connection between subtle neck dysfunction and poorer grip strength, there has to be a reason why those parts of your neck on the side that they were dysfunctional has also become a problem in their own right. And perhaps the single biggest thing that I keep coming back to with my patients as a physio is that the biggest reason why so many people develop stiffness and dysfunction in certain parts of the neck and upper back is that dysfunction is often individualized and highlighted thanks to the shapes and positions we put that tissue into the most throughout the day. And admittedly, I have a tendency to pick on sitting because that gives us a lot of opportunity to be stuck in a bit of a crappy driving posture, or that's how we sit and watch TV. Perhaps that's where the mouse and keyboard tend to sit and drag us into certain shapes that create a hinge through our neck, drag that shoulder away, and just load up that tissue unknowingly behind the scenes. If you don't sit a lot, if you're like me as a physio and you stand a lot, perhaps the surface that you're working on is low enough down that it still pulls you out of those same shapes. But because you're active and doing things, you're not necessarily aware of how you're being held. But if improving your grip strength long term and getting to the stage where you don't have to do these grip strength exercises forever just to maintain your grip strength, we need to have a very meaningful and responsible conversation about the things that you do with your body the most, but more specifically the shapes that you may be doing those things in. Because if we were to list the things that you do most commonly and rank the stationary ones from the most time spent doing to the least time, logically it makes sense to start with the things you spend the most time doing. Even if you're not actively thinking about how you're doing it, your body is still doing it a certain way. We just need to double check that it's not being dumped into a less than ideal shape and asking certain parts of your spine to become dysfunctional and dysfunctional enough that we see a consequence through the peripheral structures of your arm down through your hands and fingers. this. So to put a cap on this, we want to make sure that you try and be up a little bit taller, shoulders more comfortably back, getting closer to this more ideal and optimal posture and shape. We ideally want to make that shape on balance better for you than it is less than advantageous. So with all that being said, I hope that perspective resonated with you. If it did, let me know in the comments down below what you found with the ball exercise. Please give the video a like and subscribe to the channel. If for no other reason than it just helps me get these videos out to more people. If you have an issue that you just can't seem to shake and you might like me to help you with that, please consider booking in an online consultation. But in the meantime, thank you for watching. Hope to see you next time. Bye.